Hey YouTube, it's Faye, and for today's video, I am back working on the Tacoma project. And if you've been following this project at all, then this may be the video that you have been waiting for. Or at least it's the video that Brandon has been very patiently waiting for, because I have set this truck on the back burner as I have made my Mark III Supra my #1 priority. So now that that is sort of handled and off, waiting for its dyno day, I am turning my attention back to the Tacoma, and you can see I have the supercharger behind me. So yes, this is installment 1 of the supercharger installation video, and for today's video, I'm gonna show you everything that I have to do in order to get all of the fit kit components to actually fit on the Tacoma. Now this, I'm thinking, is gonna be the most tedious and the most difficult part of this project for me, because as you may know, if you have a 2nd generation Toyota Tacoma and you are looking for the TRD supercharger kit, you may have realized that this kit is discontinued, and it is. It is impossible to find. Thankfully, I did find one with the help of one of my friends at Toyota, so Nick, if you are watching this, man, I'm grateful for your help. Unfortunately, the only one that we could find was actually not for a Tacoma. It's for an FJ Cruiser. Now, not a big deal because the supercharger itself is the same, and many of the major components are the same. What differs is the fit kit, or all the little accessories that are made to fit in one engine bay or another. So while I have the supercharger that fits perfectly on both the FJ Cruiser and the Tacoma, my fit kit is for the FJ Cruiser. So for today's video, I'm gonna show you all the parts that do not fit on the Tacoma, and I'm gonna make them fit. And then stay tuned, because at the end of this video, we're gonna do one more thing that we have to do before the supercharger goes on. And that is, we are going to go to the dyno with this Tacoma. So you're gonna see what it makes, what its stock power is. So let me know in the comments below, what do you think we're gonna make on the dyno? I'll actually put a little poll up in my stories as well here on the community tab of my channel. So go ahead, place your bets, see what you think we're gonna make for horsepower and torque, so that after we get the supercharger installed, we're gonna go back to the exact same dyno and do another poll as well, so we can sort of compare before and after. Because what we've heard, and I've never actually driven a supercharged Tacoma before, so I have no experience. This is gonna be a total surprise to me, both the install and of course the end result. But what I've heard is that it makes the Tacoma feel like it should have from the factory, and maybe make some cool noises too. So, well, we shall see. Anyway, let's get right into fitting the fit kit. Our TRD supercharger kit, in true Toyota form, came with very detailed installation instructions along with the complete parts list. So I also printed out the Tacoma installation instructions that I found on TIS. So it was easy for me to compare the two parts lists side by side and figure out which parts will need modification to work on our truck. I did confirm that all the parts in the fit kit for the Tacoma had different part numbers than for our FJ Cruiser kit. I will also be using the Tacoma installation instructions to reference where all these parts are supposed to sit. I decided to jump right in with the heat exchanger, since that was the part I was most concerned about fitting and modifying. So I removed the grill, the hood latch, and you can see I'm marking the position of the bolts here because the latch is adjustable. Brandon's badass hella horns that he color matched to his suspension, the hood latch support, and this little temperature sensor. And then lastly, this aftermarket transmission cooler that came on the truck when we first got it 7 years ago. And I gotta say, your girl's not a huge fan of the mounting method that involves these plastic nuts and screws that you jam through the AC condenser fins, but they've held up pretty well for us so far, so I'm gonna save these to reuse later. Now, let's unbox this heat exchanger and see how I can make it fit. At first, I noticed how the upper brackets lined up perfectly with the AC condenser braces, and I got really excited that I might not have to modify anything at all. But a quick test fit of the new hood latch support brace, which is also going to double as the coolant pump bracket, showed me that this was not happening. The heat exchanger had to sit further back in, close against the AC condenser. Now I fumbled around with the heat exchanger, sliding it around and trying to see how it would fit, when it suddenly occurred to me, why the heck am I trying to reinvent the wheel here? And I referred to my installation instructions from TIS for how the heat exchanger should fit on the Tacoma. After all, some highly qualified Toyota engineer already spent the time figuring out how to best mount this on the Tacoma, so why don't I just emulate exactly how he or she designed it? Sure, I'd have to cut off the brackets and fabricate new ones, but luckily for me, I happen to know somebody who is a very talented TIG welder, so modification would not be a problem.
But before I knew exactly how much space I was truly working with though, I had to get the hood latch support brace, or this water pump bracket, which you can see I've got the little water pump here, to fit as well. And thankfully it was really close already, and all I had to do was widen out these existing holes.
The bracket actually fits perfectly. So I just had to widen that lower hole a little bit, and then I just cut that washer so that it will, you know, hold the bolt in there really well. And there's not like a whole bunch of empty space around it. So very, very, very solid. It looks awesome. Now it's time to cut. You. We are currently getting ready to head to Big Bend. I'm gonna go pack, and we're leaving early in the morning. So this is just where we're leaving it right now. So you can see that I've left this part in, but I took our heat exchanger out. Our little pump is in, so we're gonna see if it withstands the open roads. And then there is where I'm gonna put the transmission cooler. This is temporary because I actually wanna find one that spans the entire width of his little smile here. But, you know, for now, it's gonna do great. Also, this wire is temporary because I'm gonna be running a wire harness for this pump, and I'm gonna loom everything together really nice at the end, so, alrighty. It is a new day. We actually went overlanding over the weekend to check out the meteor shower in Big Bend, and so we put the location of the transmission cooler and the pump to the test. And they have not moved. They are happy in their places, so we are stoked. We are moving forward. So today, I'm gonna be installing our little reservoir guy. And they want us to install this little friend on the driver's side fender right next to the brake booster. Here it is. Oh, look at that, nice and robust. Gosh, gotta love TRD stuff. Oh, look at that. Now the problem is I've got a wiring loom running right there, aftermarket wiring for a lot of the lights. So I'm gonna have to move that first to make room for this, and then I'm gonna have to reroute that, but that is no big deal. I can make it happen. So let's get to moving all of that, and let's get this installed. This bracket is another FJ Cruiser specific part, so I'm gonna probably have to modify this, but let's see if we can fit it in there. I think it's gonna work. Okay, here is draft one of my bracket, and I still have this, so I may do a supporting piece because there's another hole down below, but let's see what we got here. Oh, that's not going anywhere. Nice. Okay, well, now that I know I like it, look at this mess. Oh God. And it fits with the hood closed. Yes, For the reservoir hoses, they provide us with this little 90-degree elbow because, if you see in this diagram here, the way that this is sitting, it's gonna go out and over. But because mine is a little different than this, because I had to make a custom bracket, I'm still gonna use this, but I'm gonna integrate this 90. This is a coolant hose from I don't know what, but it's still in great condition, and it has this built-in 90. So I'm gonna use a built-in 90, another 90, and then this is the hose that comes with the kit. And this, thankfully, is the correct hose for Tacoma FJ. Yay! So my thought is to do that, right? Use this natural curve right there off the end, and then just emulate the instructions as much as possible. Do that 90 there, and then route the cooling lines down through here. And then of course, I'll install my heat exchanger and cut those lines to fit to length. We're making great progress on cleaning up the wiring over here, but before I finish up, I just grabbed this wire harness out of the kit. This is for our little pump. And the instructions are pretty straightforward. Basically, they want us to mount this gorgeous heavy-duty relay. Like, look at this thing. Oh my gosh, love it. On one of the body holes here that's next to the radiator. And then they want this little fuse also hard mounted. And we've got just a signal, a power, and a ground. But this, in the instructions, they should mounting in the same bolt hole as this resistor here. You can see that is where they want the relay mounted, right next to the radiator. And then here's that little fuse, and you can see we're using that same bolt for that resistor that's in front of the batteries. Then I'll clean up all this from the aftermarket headlights and run this loom for the pump, along with and clean up all these little wires that are for those cool little LEDs that go across the grill. So everything's gonna be really neat and clean by the time that I'm done. After I routed the wiring harness for the coolant pump, I was able to see the final length of the wires that I was working with, and I realized that the locations where I was supposed to mount the relay and the fuse just weren't gonna work for the Tacoma, so I just secured them underneath the fuse box. Here is the final result in the fuse box. You can see I've got my power wire that's going here, just like it says in the diagram. My signal wire, I just cut out a little slot there, put some butyl in there, and just stuck it there to make sure that this wouldn't move and get pinched. So I'm gonna put this back down and finish running the rest of the wiring. After we returned from Big Bend, I dropped by Hill Country Performance and Machine to live stream with my friend Danny and talk about Smokey Eunuch. It was the anniversary of Smokey's passing 23 years ago, so we decided to talk about the hot vapor engine and our next steps on the Plymouth Horizon project. But before we went live, Danny welded my homemade tabs onto the Tacoma heat exchanger, and I couldn't have been more happy with the end result. You said this is a hard weld to do, Danny?
Well, when they're like, when you have a 90 and you're doing it with such a little stuff, the heat wants to just jump to here and here, and wants to burn off of everything before it even gets down to there.
So you had to up the heat, you said?
Yeah, I had to crank it up to 100 for thin aluminum like this. But the beauty of it was that this thickness is the same as the top thickness.
I tried, Danny.
So
that's why I bought it.
Actually, they both heated up about the same time.
Heck yeah, it looks just like the Tacoma one.
Just like the one that was supposed to be with the...
It looks like, exactly, yep, with the feet coming down and the little arms coming up. With the heat exchanger in place, I was able to cut the bulk hose to length and start running my coolant lines. So you can see I've run the wire harness for our little auxiliary pump, and there's all the wiring loomed together nicely and tied out of the way. And that is following our coolant lines to the reservoir. And thankfully, this wraps up all of the items in the fit kit with different part numbers. Minus only, of course, some of the hardware, but I have an extensive collection of hardware here, so none of that was a problem. From here, all we have left is plumbing the rest of the coolant lines to the supercharger, and I will do that when I get that installed in its final resting place, since everything else is cut to length. Plus, that's all the work that I can get done this morning anyway, because we have a very important appointment that I do not want to be late for, that we are headed to right now, and that is down to San Antonio. We are headed to Fuel Injection Specialties to put this truck on the dyno and get our baseline, our stock numbers. This is pretty cool. It's a loaded dyno, and they do like a parasitic draw test, so it pretty much will simulate exactly what we're going to get on the roads. This is not horsepower at the crank, which stock 200,000 miles ago, they should have gotten about 236 horsepower. So we're gonna see what we actually get at the wheels. And another thing that we're gonna do while we're at Fuel Injection Specialties is we're gonna bring our brand new fuel injectors to get cleaned and flow tested. Why? Because this kit was assembled in 2015, and that is how long they've been sitting in their little baggies. So when you have them cleaned and rebuilt, the best thing you should do is install them right away. You don't want them to dry out. So I'm gonna get them installed, and as soon as we go pick them up when we get back from our next camping trip, they're gonna go right in the truck. So even though these are brand new and there shouldn't be a problem, I just wanna make sure they are fresh and ready to go. So Tracy from Fuel Injection Specialties does a really good job. She's clean and flow tested all of my injectors for all the Supras as well. So that kind of wraps up the work portion of this video. In our next video on the Tacoma, we're gonna take you actually out onto the trail. We're gonna do our very last camping trip without forced induction this weekend. So we're gonna take you along, show you our current setup, show you the plans we have for the future and all the modifications, the things that we've improved upon over the past couple years of this build. So stay tuned for that. And then of course, as soon as we get back, it's time to tear into this beast and get the supercharger installed. So without further delay, let's head to the dyno, and I hope you enjoy this footage as much as we enjoy making it. All right, see you in my next video. Thanks for watching, you guys. Bye. We just arrived. All right, what do you think? What do you think we're gonna put out today?
I think if we get the good gas, we're gonna get triple digits.
Oh, fantastic. All right, well, we shall see. We shall see.
So this is a loaded dyno. It basically loads it to whatever the vehicle is throughout the entire pull. So it does, have lower power numbers, but it does simulate it. So I think we're going to go ahead and do a second gear pull. I don't think it'll do third, only because this vehicle won't go 120 or 130 in third. Just mathematically, it won't. Horsepower, power, and weight, it's just the way it is. So we'll start our pull in second gear first, go from there, and see what it does. Actually, if you're looking at the graph, obviously our peak torque,
Yep.
4,600. I don't know where they are from the factory. We can look them up. But believe it or not, it carried all the way out the back to the rev limiter. Which you heard me hit the rev limiter.
Yeah.
And it made its peak power. I don't know what. Like, so we'd have to look on the.
That's impressive.
Yeah, that's actually pretty good, actually, especially for being second gear. Does this thing have like programmer or any type of stuff like that on it? Nothing?
Nope.
No.
Nope. We've got nothing. It's bone stock.
This is what we look at. We had a bunch of knock retard. We would see horsepower probably coming down in here. Does it have 87 in it, or does it have 93?
87.
87. Yeah.
According to the dyno, it made its peak torque, about 4,600, 4598, 600, and peak horsepower at pretty much 5,500. So we'd have to go online and see what they actually do, what they say these motors are, or what they physically make,
Yep.
But yeah, so we can do one more to baseline it, back it up. And
Right.
so what we look at is what percentage are we losing, because it has bigger tires. We don't know the answer to that. So if we know that the motor is 236 horsepower, we try to figure out that, okay, are we losing 15%, 200. So let's do one more and see if it backs it up.
Heck yeah.
Hi, Clemmy. Hello. Hi, Clemmy. Hi.